I found my soulmate on a dating app. She was perfect, gorgeous, and understood me on a spiritual level, but the only problem was that she had actually died in a fire back in 1990, and I was stupid enough to sign a contract exchanging my life for hers with a single swipe. It all started about 3 days ago when I was rotting on my couch, wallowing in the misery of being a single 28-year-old guy on a Friday night surrounded by empty pizza boxes and desperation. I was absolutely done with Tinder and Bumble, where conversations never went deeper than "Hey, what's up, or girls? Just looking for a free meal" before ghosting me. So when a bizarre pop-up ad flashed on my phone screen with a dark, eerie red and black color scheme reading "Soulmate Eternal Connection. Find your other half," I thought, why not? Figuring the worst that could happen was some scammer getting my email address, because honestly, I didn't have much else to lose. The app interface was weirdly minimalist. No Facebook login, no identity verification. It just asked me to press my thumb against the screen to scan biometrics and soul vibration frequency, which sounded like total bogus spiritual mumbo-jumbo. But 3 seconds later the screen flashed 100% compatibility found. And there was Sarah, a girl with 90s-style big blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and a radiant smile, though the photo quality was grainy, like it was taken on a disposable camera from 30 years ago. Her profile was empty, except for a pinned location. Diner 66, Route 9, 10 p.m. tonight. And I just figured she was some hipster into the vintage aesthetic playing hard to get. So I showered, drowned myself in cologne, and drove out there without even questioning why Google Maps said no data available for that area. The road to Diner 66 was dead silent, with fog so thick it looked like a B-movie set. And when I arrived, the place looked like it had been abandoned for decades. The neon open sign buzzing with a headache-inducing hum. But the lights were on inside, so I took a deep breath, fixed my collar, and walked in. The doorbell jingling with a dry, hollow sound, and the air inside was freezing, literally cold enough to see my own breath. Sarah was already sitting in a booth, looking even better than her photo, but something was off. She was wearing a polka dot dress that was way out of style, her makeup was heavy, and her skin was pale and smooth like candle wax without a single pore. "Hi, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Exactly 33 years, she said, and her voice sounded like the static of an untuned radio. I laughed nervously, thinking she was really committed to this roleplay bit, so I joked back. "Sorry, traffic in the 21st century is a nightmare." She smiled, but her eyes didn't. They just stared unblinkingly at me. And then a massive waiter, in a grease-stained uniform, slammed down 2 milkshakes and a plate of fries. But the plate was covered in dust, and the shakes smelled like yogurt that expired a month ago. I was about to complain when Sarah started drinking hers, and began rambling about me. And when I say she knew everything, I mean everything. "You still have that scar on your left knee from falling off your bike when you were 7, right? And you still feel guilty about flushing the dog's food down the toilet." And I felt a chill run down my spine because I had never told anyone those things, not even online, so I reached under the table to check my phone, but the screen was black with zero signal. I looked around and realized the horror. The other customers, a couple in the corner, an old man at the bar, were all sitting perfectly still, not moving, not breathing, their clothes covered in soot. "Sarah, this isn't funny. Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling, and she stopped drinking, set the glass down with a loud clink in the dead silence, tilted her head like a broken puppet, and smiled so wide it looked like her face would split. "I'm your soulmate, the app told you. Soul connection, position exchange. Didn't you read the terms of service?" And right then the lights cut out, leaving only the red glow of the sign outside. And I watched as Sarah's face started to flake away like ash, revealing charred black meat underneath. The smell of burnt flesh filling the room as the diner transformed, the booths rotting away, the walls blackened by fire, and the customers revealed to be desiccated corpses frozen in time. I jumped up, knocking my chair over, and ran for the door, but it was locked tight, the handle searing hot like a branding iron, burning my hand, and I turned back to see Sarah not walking, but gliding across the floor, her body smoking. "Don't leave. It's your turn to cover the shift," she rasped with a voice that sounded like a dozen people screaming. I pulled out my phone to use the flashlight, but the screen lit up on its own with a notification. "Transaction complete. Body swap confirmed." And immediately I felt a pain rip through my chest, like my soul was being vacuumed out. I collapsed, watching my own body stand up, but the eyes weren't mine anymore. They were Sarah's. "Thanks for the new ride, handsome," the thing wearing my skin said, cracking its neck and picking up my phone, smiling down at me as I lay there as a faint, invisible ghost, powerless and silent. "Don't worry, the job is easy. Just wait until some lonely guy swipes right on you." Shouldn't take more than 30 or 40 years. And with a wink, it walked out the door, the bell jingling one last time like a coffin lid slamming shut, locking me in the eternal darkness with the smell of ash and the dead stares of the old staff. So now I am sitting here at table 4, waiting for your phone to buzz. And if you see an ad for an app called Soulmate, please download it and swipe right on me. I promise I'll take good care of your body, better than I took care of mine. I made the single biggest mistake of my life last Tuesday when I decided to leave a scathing 1-star review for a delivery driver named Gary just because he had the audacity to eat half of my large seasoned fries. But I swear to you, in my defense, I was running on 3 hours of sleep and a dangerous amount of caffeine, and when you are a freelance graphic designer living alone in a high-rise apartment, food delivery is just a service. It is a lifeline, a religious ritual that punctuates the endless gray blur of work and depression. It started innocently enough around 2 a.m. when the hangry desperation set in. So I opened the app, scrolled past the healthy options, and ordered a greasy double cheeseburger combo from a 24-hour joint across town, watching the little car icon on my phone screen inch closer and closer like I was tracking Santa Claus. But when the notification finally popped up saying Gary is approaching, I looked out my peephole and saw a guy who looked less like a delivery driver and more like a fugitive who had just crawled out of a swamp, wearing a hoodie that was 3 sizes too big and staring directly at the camera lens of my Ring doorbell with eyes that looked wide, unblinking, and strangely watery. I opened the door just a crack, snatched the bag, and muttered a quick thanks. But as soon as the latch clicked shut, I felt the weight of the bag was wrong, lighter than it should have been. And when I tore open the staples, which looked like they had been carefully pried open and reclosed, I saw the crime scene. The burger wrapper was torn, and the fry carton was half empty with a single greasy ketchup-stained fingerprint smeared right on the inside of the cardboard like a signature. The rage was instantaneous and blinding, the kind of petty fury that only a hungry introvert can feel. So I didn't just request a refund. I went full Karen mode and typed out a paragraph-long review detailing his lack of professionalism, his hygiene, and I ended it with, "I hope you enjoyed the fries, Gary, because that's the last meal you're stealing on my dime," before hitting submit and feeling a smug sense of justice. About 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed, not with a notification from the app, but a text message from an unknown number that simply read, "The fries were a little cold, but I think the meat inside the apartment will taste much warmer," which froze my blood instantly, because there is no way the driver should have had my personal number since the app encrypts that data. So I blocked the number immediately, convinced it was just a creepy coincidence or a bluff, and double-checked the deadbolt on my door before trying to force myself to sleep. That night, the noises started, faint at first, just a rhythmic scratching sound coming from the ceiling, right above my bed, like rats scurrying across the drywall. But then it got heavier, sounding less like claws and more like the shifting weight of a human body rolling over on insulation, and I lay there paralyzed, staring up at the popcorn ceiling, telling myself that it was just the building settling, or the upstairs neighbors moving furniture at 3 a.m., because that's a logical explanation, right? The next 2 days were a blur of paranoia. I kept smelling something foul in the hallway, a mix of stale sweat, fast food grease, and something metallic like copper, but I ignored it, kept my blinds drawn, and refused to leave the apartment, surviving on instant noodles because I was too terrified to order anything else. But by Friday night, the hunger won again, and I convinced myself I was being irrational, that Gary was probably fired and long gone. So I opened the app again and ordered from a completely different restaurant, a fancy Italian place that required a different delivery service entirely. I watched the tracker obsessively, my phone gripped so tight my knuckles turned white, and I saw the driver, Michael, pick up the order. But then the GPS glitch happened. The car icon didn't move from the restaurant for 20 minutes. Yet suddenly my phone pinged, "Driver is approaching," which was impossible because the restaurant was 5 miles away. I crept to the door, heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird, and looked through the peephole. But the hallway was empty, the motion sensor lights were off, plunging the corridor into shadow, until ding, the elevator at the far end of the hall didn't move. But the notification changed to order delivered. I opened the door with a baseball bat in one hand ready to swing, and looked down. There was a bag there, but it was not the fancy paper bag from the Italian restaurant. It was a dirty, grease-stained plastic sack from a convenience store, and inside, there was no pasta, just a pile of my own trash wrappers I had thrown away yesterday, a crumpled receipt, and a lock of hair that looked exactly like mine, tied together with a red rubber band. I stumbled back, dropping the bag, and that's when I heard Italo. Wheezing giggle, coming not from the elevator, and not from the stairwell, but from directly above my head. I looked up and saw that the maintenance hatch in the hallway, sealing the one right outside my door that leads to the crawl space for the HVA systems, was slightly ajar, just a sliver of darkness and the white ceiling tiles. And in that darkness, a pair of eyes caught the reflection of the emergency exit sign, glowing faintly. I slammed my door, locked all 3 locks, and dragged my heavy dresser in front of the entrance before screaming for the police. And those 20 minutes of waiting for the sirens were the longest years of my life as I listened to the sound of the hatch fully opening and heavy boots dropping onto the floor outside, followed by the jiggling of my doorknob and a soft, rhythmic thumping against the wood. When the cops finally arrived with guns drawn, the hallway was empty, but the ceiling hatch was wide open, and what they found up there made the rookie officer vomit right on my welcome mat. It turned out Gary had been driving a car at all. In fact, he had left the building in weeks. He had set up a makeshift nest in the crawl space directly above my apartment unit, insulating it with stolen delivery bags and fiberglass, and he had rigged a way to intercept the Wi-Fi signals to hack into the tenant accounts. The police found a peephole drilled through the drywall that looked directly into my living room, positioned perfectly to watch me while I worked, while I slept, and while I ate, and scattered around his sleeping bag were hundreds of Polaroid photos of me taken through the gaps in the vents, along with a notebook filled with reviews of me rating my sleeping habits, my choice of movies, and my tenderness on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. They never caught him. He slipped away through the roof access before they secured the perimeter. But the most terrifying part wasn't the photos, or the nest, it was the text. I received, while I was giving my statement to the detective, a notification from the delivery app that simply said, "Service was interrupted, but don't worry, I've saved your new address in my favorites for when you move, because I'm still hungry and you still owe me a 5-star meal."